to Murf+E Unfiltered, Zero BS Biz Talk. I'm Kathleen Murphy, and I'm here with my host today, Eliot Grossman, although we are not in the studio, as you can tell, because of the you-know-what virus that's going on. How are you, Eliot?
Murph, what's going on, my friend? I miss you.
I miss you too. It's good to see you. Thankfully, we have another way to see one another, because it's been a while since we were actively engaged like this.
We were actively engaged, I believe, in the winter. So we both now you went sparkly and shiny, and I went with my pink, with Easter coming up, of course.
You're in pink. That's good. I'm glad that you pointed that out to me. I couldn't tell that it was pink. So thank you for telling me that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So today, based on the fact that we are dealing with a pandemic, I thought that it would be appropriate to focus on a topic that was a little bit on the more positive side of this pandemic. And so I'm calling the show the COVID virus 19 upside impact, because, as you know, I like to be more positive than not. So I figured that we'd start out with a positive spin and try to stay with that as much as possible throughout the show. And right now, as we both know, we're navigating uncharted territory where it's certainly impacting both our home and our work life for some more than others. And so we're going to talk about the realities of what's happening. And we're going to talk about how we can be positively focused as much as possible and potentially have people and help people to look through a different lens. So I don't know about you, but my life has certainly been tipped upside down, and I'll talk about that for a few minutes here. I normally am home without any kids, and I'm here usually with my dog, and my husband travels, so he's generally not here either during the course of the week. And I now have everyone at home, including the dog, full time. And all three of the kids that are here, two of them are normally in Boston or Manhattan working at their jobs and living elsewhere. And our youngest one is home from the University of Massachusetts because he came home for spring break and then never went back. So he's now homeschooling, if you will, online. And it's sort of a nice treat for me. I will reveal this because they all came home specifically to celebrate my birthday, which was on March 15th. And so I'm calling this the COVID-19 birthday present, because all my kids came home to see me and are still here.
That's awesome, Murph.
Thank you. So I know that you're in a different role than I am during the course of the day. Most of my clients I work with in person, because I typically am working with teams. I am still conducting some meetings through Zoom. Luckily, we have this as a way to connect with people, but the majority of my work is getting pushed out to the summer, the fall. It's unclear as to when I'm going to be able to engage again with my clients that are in the team sense. What's going on in your world?
Yeah, so it was a very busy winter in my side of the business, and then on a professional side. And now that, things have changed a little bit, but one thing the virus hasn't changed is because my business is viewed as essential.
Yes.
We are incredibly busy, and because we had a mild winter,
right,
it's allowed us to continue to probably get going a little bit earlier than normal, which we probably weren't ready for.
Sure.
But you get ready, and every day, Murph, quite honestly, I'm really thankful to be in the position I'm in. And, and I'm happy whether it's, 37 and snowing and raining or 60 degrees out there. I'm just thankful to be in the position I'm in, because I know things have certainly changed and will be changing for a lot of people moving forward. On the personal side, like you, one of my daughters was in Belgium doing a semester abroad, taking classes and doing an internship. And we basically got the notice, 36, 48 hours before we had to get her home. And we were fortunate enough for her to get home safely. And my other daughter, like you have a son at UMass. My daughter's at University of Delaware. We got her out of there. Still have to go back to Delaware and pick up all of the stuff that's in her dorm room. But we'll get that done when it's right, when it's safe to do it. My other son in high school, like they're all taking classes now, but it's just different. Life's just changed.
Right.
And that's okay. That's okay. We need to adapt with it, right?
We do. And I recently wrote an article on adaptability and the importance of it. And I referred to it as a superpower, and especially probably more so than ever right now, it's incredibly important to at least allow yourself to feel like you can be adaptable. And I think that people oftentimes don't give themselves enough credit for being as adaptable as they potentially may think that they are. And so I'm finding myself and reminding myself that, as my mother likes to say, this too shall pass. And so I just have to find different ways of going about my everyday sort of life and how it's interrupted both my family life and my professional life. And that's okay. And we sort of have to give ourselves permission about that and find ways to see that silver lining, because there's always a silver lining in these scenarios.
Yeah, absolutely, Murf. And I think you talked about, you talked about started out by talking about trying to be positive and do that. Well, I think part of adaptability is our ability now, with all this crazy and horrible stuff going on, right? The virus is awful. It's brutal. It's deadly, and it's awful. But we can also look at the positives and being able to adapt and do different things, similar like we're doing now. But, what's the big deal about social distancing? It's not that hard. It really isn't that hard.
It really isn't. So I
don't mind not shaking hands. I have to be honest with you. I'm okay with it. So you just figure out a way to stay positive and adapt and smile, and, we'll all get there. We will, as your mom said, we will get through this as well.
Exactly. So I went to the supermarket midday today because I figured that might be a time when I wasn't going to have to stand outside and wait to get in. And I was looking at the weather because the other day I went to the supermarket and it happened to be raining. And there was a very long line to get just into the store with the social distancing, of course, that is required for the line. And so I thought, I don't want to wait in that line. But today I showed up and there was that same line again, but it was nice enough out. So I said, all right, I've got my mask. It's nice out. I'll stand out here and see how long this takes. And it took about 20 minutes to get inside. Once I did get inside, it was a much sort of slower pace because it felt almost like a personal market because there's so few people in it. So shout out to Market Basket, one of my local supermarkets in this town. And the Board of Health has worked with the store to obviously set up the policies in terms of what you're now required to do once you do get into the store. Yeah. And they've got arrows that you have to follow. It was kind of mixing me up a little bit in that I'm just used to sometimes going back and forth down different aisles, and you can't do that any longer. So I felt like
you are a rule breaker.
Well, no, I try to stay within the context of the rules and confines of the rules. But it did take extra time today, but I reminded myself that's okay because it's not like
all you have is time.
Some contest, right? We're not in a contest right now. If anything, one of the benefits, I think, and I'm sure that you'll find this to be the case, but I feel like things have slowed down a little bit, and I'm not used to that. I'm used to a very fast-paced life, and I'm trying to take time to enjoy and smell the flowers, along the way.
Right. Yeah, it's just that's it, So again, we adapt and we continue to move forward, and we find ways to accomplish what we need to accomplish. And with that said, we try to do it safely. And did I ever think I'd be wearing nitrile gloves and a mask to go to work or say hello to customers and do those, to go into my local grocery store?
Sure.
No, I never thought that, but better safe than sorry, like we all are. And I think if we're continuing to do that, we're going to sound like Captain Obvious here, but if we all continue to do that, then we will come out better on the other side of this, or at least come out safe on the other side of this.
I think so too. And, I was thinking about some of the other positive aspects of what we're experiencing now. And so the fact that our producer reached out to us and said, hey, do you want to experiment and test out this as a method since we can't get you into the studio? I thought that was fabulous. And you and I are adaptable and we're flexible. So we said, sure, let's give this a try. Normally I'm on Zoom quite regularly anyway, so it wasn't so much of a stretch for me, but I thought that was fantastic. I got a note yesterday from one of my neighbors, a text saying, hey, I'm making some masks. Would you like some? And I don't have any at my house. So I've been using literally bandanas, talk about flexible, right? So I kind of feel like they must look at me like I'm a little odd, as if I'm going into the store and going to be robbing the place. But they obviously know that since other people are sort of in that same situation, that's my only accommodation right now for what I have to use for protection. But I'm waiting for one of my neighbors to bring over some homemade masks, which is such a nice thing that she's doing for us. Because I said, yes, please. We don't have any. I'll take that,
Yeah, well, I think part of that, we talked, the word positive can't be used enough right now. And I think people are doing nice things, and we'll talk about this a little further on in the show here. But, as people continue to, I don't know, it just seems incredible, the I guess, outpouring and the warmth from people to each other, where in the past it probably wasn't like this. I know it wasn't like this. I can tell you for a fact. So it's very nice.
It really is. And I love the spirit of people's sense of humor and the sharing of all kinds of jokes and all kinds of videos and all kinds of methods to entertain one another. Since 2 weeks ago, as you know, I've had 2 virtual cocktail parties, which was a lot of fun. And being a very social person, I was looking for outlets and methods to try to engage with people, since I was probably driving my family crazy. And, let's face it, we've seen a lot of each other these days. So I needed to see some other faces. So turning to Zoom once again to have a virtual cocktail party was incredibly fun for me. And did I ever think that I'd be having a virtual cocktail party? No, never. Yeah. But, I think that we're probably going to be doing a lot more of that kind of thing. Certainly, we have the dog that I referenced, his name is Ollie. And I think that he's probably at times looking at me saying, oh my gosh, if you are thinking about taking me out for another walk, I'm going to hide on you. Sure. But I think at the same time, he's loving all the attention as well. So I know that for a lot of other people out there that have pets, they're really experiencing a tremendous amount of additional attention, and they're probably so happy about that and so joyful. So that's another huge benefit. And I was on a Zoom meeting last night, and one of the people on the call, she just got a new puppy, and she was fortunate. Literally, she had gotten the puppy a day ago and gone down to Pennsylvania to pick it up, and the puppy was sitting in her lap. So it was just the absolute best meeting ever, to be able to, be talking to this person during a meeting and having a little cute 8-week-old puppy in her lap.
Right. Yeah, that's
for me, it doesn't get better than that. I think that's just like the best.
I agree.
So, appreciating obviously a lot of the small things that we take for granted. The other morning I was sitting in my family room before the family all sort of woke up and came down, and I was just listening to kind of how quiet it was, but yet I could hear the birds, and that was not something I generally sit around and listen to. And I thought, wow, I'm really changing here a little bit by doing these things that normally I wouldn't be doing, and that's not such a bad thing. I don't know about you, but have you experienced or had conversations with people about whether there's been an increased level of conversation, or whether there's a lot of what I'll say noise going on out there?
Yeah, so I've reached out to a number of different people in a number of different industries. And I think when you look at other industries right now, certainly, or different industries, software, and obviously the food industry, the hospitality industry is decimated at this point, right?
Sure.
But for sure, software and various folks, nobody's really buying, right? So when you're looking at that, you say, companies can't really go spend $1 million or $2 million or whatever it may be on a new software package when there's a lot going on. So that type of stuff, is it noise? I guess it is noise. I don't know if that's necessarily really good noise that I hear. Other folks that I hear basically have said their companies are just kind of really quiet about things, which would get me very nervous. My company had the owner of our company, the president of my company, had a meeting for the entire sales force yesterday saying, hey, don't worry, we got plenty of cash. We're grooving along. We're beating our numbers, those types of things. So I'm not hearing too much.
That's great. My son works in an industry that has online training modules, and they're actually pretty busy right now. And they're seeing an uptick in business because more people are needing their type of services right now more than ever, because there's a need for engagement and there's a need for content for the customers that they service that are namely in the healthcare space and the education space. So my sister-in-law is a elementary school teacher, and I wasn't sure whether she would be continuing to work because particularly the public schools weren't necessarily set up to be doing online school. The colleges were set up slightly better. I'm on the board of advisors for the business school for the University of Maine, and we had a board meeting a week ago, and we were talking about how the school was meeting the challenge of the online schooling. And they said, it was like we flipped a switch, and last week we had 3,500 classes that were delivered online to the students at the University of Maine, and that was phenomenal. But my sister-in-law, I was very surprised at the elementary school level at a public school that they were able to also quickly come up to speed and deliver education to the elementary school students. And I know that isn't the case potentially for all schools, because I've talked to some other parents that are in different towns, and they're homeschooling their kids because school does not exist right now. Sorry about that. My dog Ollie must be hearing or seeing somebody in the yard. But one of the things that I've noticed also is increase in creativity that is definitely being applied out there in the world. And I'm really appreciating the different ways that people are coming together and helping one another in the spirit of being, good neighbors or good colleagues, and reaching out and asking people for help. I don't always think that it's easy for people to accept help or to sometimes even, ask for help when they need it. But I'm seeing a lot more of that. So I'm encouraged by that aspect. Last week, I responded to a general media request from the Today Show, and I was asked to comment on what I thought the outcome might look like for the seniors in high school that are applying to colleges and the decisions that they're going to have to be making, and what some advice that I might have for them, because and what were also some of the considerations in terms of what those students might be going through right now. Now, having had my youngest go through this last year, I was pretty attuned to what's going on, and he still has a lot of friends that are in high school. So I asked him about what was actually happening, and in response to being able to answer some of the questions that I was interviewed about. But the thing that, I feel really terrible about for these students is the fact that a lot of them are having to make very difficult decisions without a lot of guidance right now. They don't have any guidance counselors. They're also going to be shortchanged on a lot of milestones in their life, such as their award ceremonies, their final games, or their final concerts, or their final plays. They're going to miss their proms. They're going to miss their graduation, most of them. And it's just going to be like heartbreaking for so many of them. And you just really can't get that time back. And so I was trying to give responses in terms of what I could suggest as alternatives, given the reality of what's going on. Do you know anybody that's in that situation?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think we all do. We've got so many. I like you. I say, man, I feel awful for juniors in high school. They don't get to go to their prom. Yeah. Right? We talk about getting creative. Well, let's get creative. Parents need to step up in June or July when this thing passes and go to your local area. And if we're able to, have a prom, I don't know, just social distance, let the kids dress up. I don't know the answer yet, but there's ways to get creative to do that. I feel terrible for seniors in high school. I feel terrible for seniors in college.
I know.
I feel awful for, I feel awful for everybody. But more importantly, then we talk about, you look on the flip side, Murph, and if that's the worst thing that's going to happen to you, we're okay.
Exactly.
You know me, Mr. Positive.
Well, we're both positive, and I
right.
feel now more than ever that it's really important for more people like us to come forward and to help those people that are really struggling. Not that you or I have crystal balls, we certainly don't, but I think attitude certainly plays a lot, has a lot of impact in terms of your outlook. And so certainly there's not a lot that we have control over right now, but we do have control over our attitude. And we've talked about this before. And so I think that the people that will fare better or that are struggling, if they can at all just try to reach out and seek out people like us that are more positive minded and can see the glass as half full, because we have that gift and that ability to do that. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think maybe I've just changed a little bit. Maybe I'm wiser than I was. Certain things are out of our control. This virus is out of our control.
Yes.
Us deciding whether companies are going to lay people off, whether they're going to hire people, all of that is out of our control right now. So yes. You mentioned it. What can we do? Continue to stay positive. Continue to smile. Continue to help people. All of those things sound like they really like we should have been doing this forever, but we really haven't. No. That's the truth.
Yes.
We just don't. And I just think it just makes life a whole lot easier when you can smile and help people and feel good about those things, as opposed to just kind of being that down negative. It does nothing. It's out of your control. The government, the states, work, all of that's going to open up when it's safe. And because you and I are not Dr. Fauci or Dr. Birx, we don't get to decide these things, right? No. I just want to continue to do what we can do. Let's help out. And when it's time to work together and go back to what we consider, as our producer said earlier, what we may have perceived as a normal life, that's what we'll go back to.
That's right. I was reading something today about, we both know that, really what is normal, but in terms of the lifestyle that we've had and in terms of, I think how we thought, the next course of the few months or so leading up into the summer even are going to look entirely different than we had expected that they would look, probably going back to maybe even February or January timeframe.
Sure.
But the fact that we're going to have to wrap our minds around what maybe considered a new normal of going to the supermarket, standing outside with a mask on, 6 feet apart from people, and limiting the amount of people that can go into the store. That may be our new normal for a while. And like you said, the focus really needs to be on keeping people healthy. I currently have had 2 people in my family that were very sick from COVID. And they didn't fortunately require going to the hospital, but I can tell you firsthand, because I was taking care of them, you do not want this. Not even a mild version of it. It's bad. So there's so many people out there that are on the front lines. Today, I thank the cashier at the grocery store because, God love them. They're there. And if they weren't, we couldn't go get food, right? There are the people in healthcare, the nurses, the doctors, the respiratory specialists, just all the support specialists, the people that are cleaning up in the hospitals, right? Keeping it as clean as possible. And there are people in nursing homes, assisted living. We've got our police and our fire people. We've got our truck drivers. We've got our garbage collectors. We've got communication workers. We've got Verizon, AT&T, Comcast, all those people doing their jobs to make it so that we can have what we've got going on right now occurring. We've got, the gas stations, the pharmacies, the CVSs and the Walgreens of the world. Thank goodness for those places existing. And then we've got the water and gas and electric people that all need to be thanked and acknowledged. And
don't forget the liquor store workers, because we thank them.
My gosh, yeah, you're right. That's an essential business.
Thank God, here in Massachusetts, they are viewed as essential. And, Governor Baker, well done, my friend.
Cheers.
Cheers. Right.
Exactly. And then, thank goodness for social media. Netflix, thank you. I'm really enjoying a few binge watching episodes of one show in particular. It's called Schitt's Creek. It's really entertaining me and making me laugh at night. So I highly recommend that one.
Well, you get through it because it is awesome. I've watched them all and it is awesome.
It is. And then, we got to give a shout out also to the teachers and the professors and the people keeping the education system going in whatever format they can to, help those that are pursuing their education. Sure. And is there anybody that, besides, of course, thank you for pointing out the liquor stores. That's very important.
Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. So, you talked about we all have friends that are doctors and nurses and firefighters. Yes. We thank all of those people. But I a little shout out to a friend of mine, lost her husband 2 weeks ago to the virus. She's in intensive care as well still after 2 weeks, maybe even a little longer, but is getting some baby steps, some improvement. And, we can't imagine what she and her family are going through. No. But thankfully, we're seeing some improvement for her. So absolutely, shout out to Karen on that one.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, I hope that things continue to go in the course of the direction that they are for your friend Karen, and that she has a full recovery. You're welcome. I think we're going to be dealing with this for a while. Our future shows hopefully won't be completely focused around COVID-19, but we will be in essence, I'm sure, weaving in the topic when it's appropriate to do so. But I just wanted to thank you for another fabulous show, E. And let people know that we are going to be here. We're going to be continuing to put more shows out there to keep you entertained, do our part as entertainers, if you will, and communication people, right? I guess.
That may be the funniest thing you've ever said, Murf.
Well, all right. So that's it. So until next time, have a great week, and we will see you at the same channel on Murf+E Unfiltered, Zero BS Biz Talk. See you next time.
All right, bye, Murf. Thanks.
Stay well, everybody.